So John Bolton was fired about a week or so ago, and that's good news. I mean, full stop. Good news, full stop. However, the details surrounding the situation are incredibly murky and unclear. And what happened after the fact was Donald Trump tweeted that, no, he didn't fire Bolton because Bolton is too hawkish. If anything, he's more hawkish than John Bolton. And, Bolton was too weak on certain issues, on certain countries, and he was holding me back. That was an argument that Donald Trump actually made. Now, why did he make that argument? Probably because at that exact point in time, he was getting most pressure from inside the establishment where, these are people who are pro-regime change. These are people who are neoconservatives. So, to try to save face in those circles, he's like, bro, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm more hawkish than he is, so I don't even know what you're talking about. If I had to speculate, I would guess that this had something to do with the fact that Donald Trump had invited the Taliban to come to Camp David. It was supposed to be on 9/11, which is kind of hilarious if you think about it. Now, I agree with the goal of trying to get out of Afghanistan ASAP, but I just don't think you need to negotiate with the Taliban to do so. I think you could just get out. You don't need some sort of agreement with the Taliban, but they seem to think you do. And furthermore, the drawdown of troops that Trump was even talking about would still leave 9,000 U.S. troops there. That's not a withdrawal. Obama did the same stuff where he was like yo-yoing the troop levels and acting like when we had fewer troops in there, like, oh, I withdrew. No, you didn't withdraw. That's not a withdrawal. You still have thousands of troops in there. That's insane to treat that like a withdrawal. So anyway, you would think that this is an issue where John Bolton being gone, where we could all breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. But that's not the case. What ended up happening was Democrats decided on a talking point in response to this. And that talking point is, look at the instability in this administration. So it's not, oh, thank God, John Bolton is gone. Okay, we dodged a bullet there. It's, oh my goodness, there's very high turnover in the Trump administration. That's going to be your argument? So here's Senator Bob Menendez on, I believe this was, what was it, CNN? Yeah, I think it was CNN, talking about this issue.
A reaction to John Bolton being fired.
Look, the unceremonious way that Bolton was fired adds to the dysfunctionality, the whiplash that goes on in terms of, national security and foreign policy. Look at the record. This is going to be the fourth national security advisor, the third secretary of defense, the second secretary of state, the second director of national intelligence, and the list goes on. And so the Situation Room shouldn't be the place in which the president plays his reality TV show of The Apprentice. So it's very hard for our foreign policy and national security, both with our allies as well as sending messages to our adversaries by the dysfunctionality that the president has in the White House. I'm no fan of John Bolton. He's very bellicose in some of his views, but you need a national security advisor who's willing to give you alternative views and other realities and not just yes men in such a critical position.
Listen, John Bolton is a literal war criminal. Literal war criminal. Okay, this guy has the blood of innocent Iraqis on his hands. He helped push this country into war based on flat-out lies. He was part of the Bush administration. He should be at The Hague right now, for sure. And you have the opposition party acting like, well, I don't agree with the man, but agree to disagree. And you need different views in the room. For instance, you need a view that says it's a good thing to massacre innocent people. Wonderful to have that view in the room, yes. Yes. You wonder why Democrats lose, how Democrats lose to these absolute monsters on the right. Because they don't believe in anything. They don't stand for anything. Bob Menendez doesn't have a principled bone in his body, hasn't thought through issues in a detailed way in his entire life. his default reaction to John Bolton leaving the administration was, well, a different view has left the room. And that's not a good thing. The instability, sir, in this administration. Instability. Oh. Now, if you think that's bad, well, let's take a look at what the leader of the Democrats is saying. John Bolton's sudden departure is a symbol of the disarray that has unnerved our allies since day one of the Trump administration. Steady leadership and strategic foreign policy is key to ensuring America's national security. Steady leadership and strategic foreign policy. Is that what John Bolton represented to you? Steady leadership and strategic foreign policy. The administration is in disarray for getting rid of a war criminal. Just so everybody knows, this is why Justice Democrats exists. Now, unfortunately, there were some questionable responses from some of them as well. But we need Democrats in positions of power who are, without question, going to stand up on the side of de-escalation, negotiation, diplomacy, non-interventionism. This is something that's equally as important as it is to fight for Medicare for all and free college and a living wage. The foreign policy stuff is just as important as the domestic economic policy stuff. And we're just, this is the main line of thinking in the Democratic Party right now. They can't even bring themselves to recognize that getting rid of John Bolton is a positive thing, full stop. I don't care how he leaves the administration. I don't give a shit about the details. The bottom line is, all he was doing every step of the way was prodding Trump to do more war, more war, more war. Now, just for the record, this doesn't mean Trump is not going to do war. And we have some very disturbing developments to talk to you about in a little bit involving Iran and Saudi Arabia. But it can only be a good thing when you get rid of one of those voices who no doubt was prodding him at every turn to do more war, kill more people, drop more bombs, invade more places. And if you don't recognize that, you got a couple screws missing. I would love it if people would just put the idiotic partisanship aside for just a second and try to view things from an issues-based perspective. And I think regular people are a lot better at doing that when they have the information than some of these hardcore political junkies are and Democratic politicians are, because it's like they've been in this political world for so long that they just boiled everything down to playing for their team. And they think, well, whatever I can conceivably use to take a shot at Trump, let's use it. And so this is what they landed on. They landed on, oh my goodness, the war criminal leaving the administration unnerves our allies and shows instability and disarray. Ugh. It's just this vapid procedure mongering, process mongering. This idea that, like, the norms, sir! What about the norms? Fuck the norms. Who cares about the norms? I care about, let's not cause more death and destruction around the world. Let's try to actually fix our problems. Let's not do endless war and pretend like that's a positive thing. So this was, at least for a brief moment there, good news. But like I said, I got some unfortunate updates on Saudi Arabia and Iran. But it would be wonderful if we had a Democratic Party that could recognize a good thing when they see it.